Hello and welcome back, and if you've been following the brand Synology for the last few years, you may have noticed that this is a brand that has started to set its sights on a lot more businessy type stuff, a lot more enterprisey type stuff. And alongside a lot of home labbers and a lot of network attached storage users that have been behind this brand for a number of years, starting to feel the pinch. A lot of services, a lot of abilities with drivers, with hard drive and SSD support, and indeed some of the network interface support on a lot of their systems has diminished over the years, alongside some certain bells and whistles of DSM start to get trimmed off the edges. Now, over those years, here on the channel at least, we have published a few different guides, a few little walkthroughs to add different unsupported services, but none, and I repeat, none of that would have been possible without a chap called Dave Russell. Dave Russell, again, if you go over to the Synology Reddit, if you go over to GitHub and his repo, if you find a guide online that's got some kind of Synology hack or mod, chances are, better than odds are even, that it's going to be a Dave Russell script, a Dave Russell fix that you have used. Now, obviously, pillar of the community, it'd be great to take this opportunity in the video to say, tar Dave. But on top of that, we've got a little walkthrough we're going to go through today, something that Dave himself let me know about, to do with the App Center and adding a lot of these fixes in big and smaller mods and add-ons directly via the App Center, via a new community marketplace. Now, I say community marketplace, that sounds a lot more dynamic, a lot more all over the place than it actually is. If we move over to the laptop screen here, you may be aware of something we've talked about in the past called Syno Community. Syno Community, something we've discussed about adding a third-party, an unofficial app center to your device. You would go in, you would get the repo, so you would just need the repo URL for it. So again, you go into the package center there where they've got all the individual apps that you can check out. And you would take the line here from that with the easy installation. You take the repo directory and then you would copy it, there's that one there, into this tab here. So you would go into the application center, open the package center, go into settings, go into package sources, and you would add their repo there. But what this is, I'm going to call this one Dave Market. Now, a number of these fixes and add-ons, I think most of them are Dave's. There might be the odd one that isn't. Again, correct me if I'm wrong below, Dave. Now he's starting to add these available via one-click installs here in the App Center there. Now, again, pillar of the community, I'm going to say right now, Dave there, support this guy. I'm making this video to support him. And you guys, if you have used his projects like any number of these people, don't be afraid to buy the guy a coffee, because he has been in this for years. He has put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into these projects. Now, if you need the URL, it's listed here, and I'll link to this in the description alongside a link for the specific URL you have to enter into the package center there. And this adds the new Dave Russell community into that listing. So again, whether it is you've been utilizing some of the stuff with adding drivers, whether it is when we are getting certain bells and whistles to do with the drive database to take advantage of SSDs for more than just, well, not even caching now, given on the disk station 2025 and 6, you can barely use M.2 NVMe's a third party for anything. A lot of these bells and whistles are added there, and slowly but surely he says he's going to be adding them on here and allowing you to one-click install. So, par example, let's look at drive info. Drive info to give you a lot more information about the information that can be garnered from the drive, a lot more health information there. When you do use the general drive information center from Synology, you've got the bells and whistles there, but again, the level of information you can get from Synology on non-Synology drives even then isn't vast. Whereas with this one, we're installing this third-party app. We go in. Again, you may need permission. So as you can see here with this one, you will need to change the app permissions, because sometimes some of these apps and bells and whistles are going to require you to do a little bit more. In some cases, when it's going to have access to the ability to add third-party custom script, or the task scheduler where you're going to have to make sure script gets injected regularly there. It's still going to hold your hand through the process, but ultimately, this is still going to be, slowly but surely, a much more convenient way to soft mod your Synology system using a number of Dave's scripts. We go ahead with the full installation. We install it just like any other app. And once it's installed, go back to that tab that we opened earlier on. Let's go ahead and side screen this one. There's going to be some of you going, well, I could have just followed the original Synology Drive info repo from Dave and done this manually. That would have included going in with command line and stuff like that. This simplifies the process exponentially, but also allows Dave to add links to a lot of the requirements, permissions, and other things that you're going to need within the installation to guide you through. So for example, when we opened up that tab earlier on, that tab on the right hand side of the screen there allowed us to see that we can now, it guides us through the rest of the process. So following the notes there, we open up the task scheduler in the control panel, we click create a scheduled task, we go for a user defined script, make sure to untick enabled, give the task a name. I'm going to call this one Dave HGD test. From there, I'm going to go ahead and click a root user for access. The task settings, we go into user defined script, and then from there, we click copy there, and we copy that, we paste that in. And really, well, that's it. We can go ahead and just click OK to save this. It warns you, you have to put in your password. But crucially, all of this I've been able to do just here using the guidance that's been provided by the installation. In fact, the only error that's occurred is my inability to look at the camera and type my password. But as you can see from there, we go back into it and it's ready. So again, you just need to run this script. Once you've run that script, it runs the Dave test. You can either disable it, or you can have it so it boots in every time the system reboots after an update, or you can just, leave it there for best in case you ever want to rerun it. But once that's done, click apply. So let's full screen it there. And then from there, we can just simply go in, use Drive Info there to get that further information that this add-on allows us to obtain. And again, that's drawing from the smart information there, but generally, this is just a small example. And another one we could run, let's go back into the package center, is something like we could just go ahead and have open speed test built into the NAS to test internet connectivity there, to go in and boom, it installed the application. Some of them are less aggressive or less permission based than others. So for a case of that one, it goes ahead, it gets ready and is a one-click install there in order to take advantage of the open speed test option there within the system. Open it up, open speed test, and boom, we've now got speed test natively built in, just a small app and a service. But of course, there are others which I know a number of you are going to be far more keen on. So for example, in the application center, and again, this is an example of one that will require the extra layer of scripting there in the background, transcoding. So for example, the transcoding drivers that a number of the 2025 and 2026 series from Synology had those drivers removed, we went to the likes of Dave Russell and helped with some of the community around Black Void and of course Syno Forum. And as you can see, it requires that package permission, but in order to reinstate these drivers. So again, all of this adds up to a much more convenient way that's hopefully being moved towards for users that want to take advantage of their Synology hardware in ways that the brand has perhaps in the last few years slammed down the hatches on recently. And again, I'm sure this is something we're going to see grow. As mentioned, the Syno community is there, and the Syno community that's been around for the longest time does have a number of apps. And how much these are supported, how much they're looked after, I can't confirm. I'm sure a number of them are, but every single one of them, because there's a lot of work there I'm looking at on screen. So when it comes to the ones that we're talking about here from Dave Russell's repo and stuff like that, these are ones that we know he is maintaining. But of course, it's not going to be possible without your support. So again, I've linked to it below. If you've ever used one of his scripts, it allowed you to use non-Synology drives during the time when you couldn't. It allowed you to use hardware transcoding when Synology said you couldn't. And it allowed you to use M.2 NVMe's for storage pools years and years before Synology provided it in a more limited capacity. Buy him a coffee. It's what, 3-4 nicker? Do the work, okay? But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.